Hello. The real reason why MCUs are not popular in Japan, which has been considered for many years, I would like to think about it from a Japanese perspective. The first and most popular theory is that the main character is not young enough. I don't think this theory is true. It is true that most of the works that are popular in Japan feature young people. However, it is a bit far-fetched to say that Japanese people only watch movies in which young people are active. There are also works in which the main character is not a young man that usually sell well in Japan. If the theory is correct, Ms. Marvel should be very popular. So why is Spider-Man the only special one? Because Spider-Man is so high quality? Of course not. Iron Man and Captain America. Even from a Japanese perspective, the quality is unbeatable. Spider-Man was a hit because of that one.
誰だお前は! 地獄からの使者、スパイダーマン。父とガリアの復讐を俺が果たす。
In 1978, Toei's version of Spider-Man was aired, and Spider-Man became the only Marvel film to gain recognition. It is very important in Japan to have that character recognized. Because American comics are not sold in Japan, the only way to get American comics in Japan is to go to a specialty store or pay a lot of money for them on the internet. Therefore, I have never met anyone who has read American comics. That's how minor American comics are. In other words, to the Japanese, all MCU characters are new and unfamiliar characters, and to be honest, Captain America and Iron Man look like the same American comic character to the Japanese. Here, even if they are not well known, if they are interesting, they will be a hit, won't they? I'm sure you're wondering. The idea is correct, but there is a problem. So I want to explain how Japanese movie theaters are treated. Japanese movies are usually priced from $12 to $15.50. The price is fairly high. Therefore, most Japanese are tied to the chair for a long time, and if they are going to pay a lot of money for it, they want to see a surely interesting movie. Then it's better to watch a movie that is guaranteed to be somewhat interesting, such as Conan, than an interesting movie about an old man fighting an old man who doesn't know better. Of course, if the film is interesting, it will attract more visitors later on. However, Japanese films have an overwhelming advantage when it comes to the first week of a movie's release. Another tough point is that even if the movie is well received, the MCU is basically a sequel story. And in Japan, where there is no American comics, you have to watch all the previous movies in order to understand the new movie. I think that is why MCU lost out to Conan and Sumiko Garashi. The next possible factor is the presence of rivals. First of all, the number of kids who watch the MCU is absurdly small. This is because Japan has a long history of heroes such as Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and Ultraman. These heroes are works that any child has definitely seen one of them. It's almost impossible to spread the word about MCU to these kids. This means that MCU's target audience will inevitably be adults. However, the MCU has the impression in Japan that it is an adult version of these heroic works, and it's just an opportunistic hero movie, right? It's considered a bit childish for adults to watch. At least I'm a little embarrassed to say MCU when people ask me what my favorite movie is. In other words, MCU's target audience is not that wide and not accepted by children, so it is difficult to increase the number of new fans. So, what does the future hold for MCU? The future of MCU is tough, to say the least. When Infinity War and Endgame were released, the MCU was funny. I was so excited. I also started watching the MCU to see Endgame. But so much for MCU's peak. It's been bad since we entered Phase 4. In addition to sales, the film's content was not well received, even by MCU fans. Above all, the disappearance of Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. who were finally recognized as characters across the board, caused the film to revert back to being a movie about American comic characters that I don't understand. In addition, the number of characters in the drama series has increased, and it is more confusing who are the Avengers. Who's the main character in the Avengers now? The upcoming movie Fantastic Four? The Japanese don't know. No matter how popular a character is in American comics, it is meaningless in Japan. Well, Young Avengers would be a success in Japan. You may be thinking, I think it usually fails. As mentioned at the beginning of this article, the only way to succeed in Japan is to use well-known characters. If the MCU does not raise its name recognition by making comics, figurines, and animated films about its characters before the movie is released, the sales of the MCU will decrease year by year. In case you're wondering, MCU is not entirely out of fashion in Japan. Please do not misunderstand that this is just an observation from an ordinary person's point of view, and that there are quite a few fans out there. I hope the MCU doesn't end up in the endgame.